Hello and welcome to our Open Talk and tonight's special about Artsmark. I'm Cliff Manning and this is Open Talk, which is an experiment by ROHB Bridge, trying to find new ways to connect with our audiences through technologies. So one thing with anything when we're trying out technologies is never trust technology. So if something goes wrong, we'll apologise for that. We'll see. This is, let's say, trying out new ways to connect with an audience. What we'd really like is if you are watching, if you've got any questions or any comments, tweet them in to us at ROHB Bridge, #ROHB Open, or send us an email at the address which should be below. And it'd be great to get any comments or questions from you, but we also have some other questions that people have sent in as well, so we'll pick those up. So this is a series of what we're calling open talks, as a way to just have a very informal discussion around topics which are of relevance to learning, that we want to bring people in to explore different areas and to find a way to open those conversations up and to find out new directions as we go. So tonight's talk is about Artsmark. That's the one.
Get it right.
And it's for those of you who don't know anything about Artsmark, there'll be an introduction to those. For those of you who are familiar with the old Artsmark, will be what is new. And for people who are already familiar with the new Artsmark, it's an opportunity to explore what some of the common pitfalls are, some of the success stories, and how to take it further. So joined tonight by Judy Kenny, who's the ROHB Bridge Artsmark Program Manager.
Hello.
And we're also joined by Jen Farrant, who is a freelance arts and design arts consultant and Artsmark consultant. She can describe herself much better. A woman of many talents and many abilities. We're also joined online by Hasina Khan, who is also an Artsmark consultant. And in true tale, the Wi-Fi wasn't quite working for her, so she's joining us via Twitter, and we'll be sharing some comments on there as well. So hello, Hasina. Hope you can catch this as well. So I suppose if it's the Artsmark special, the first question is, what is Artsmark, and what do we mean by the new Artsmark, and what's that involve, and what's the process from there? So Judy.
Okay. I thought we'd just start off by looking at what it's. Those of you who were part of the last iteration of Artsmark will know that it was a snapshot of your arts provision in school or FE college or youth justice setting. The new Artsmark has been devised by Arts Council and on schools to provide something which is more appropriate for schools in the current educational landscape. So instead of it being an image which stipulates what you have done and what you are doing, this is looking forward, and it's trying to help you develop into the school that you want to be. So Artsmark is an award provided by Arts Council England, and it is championing those schools who are striving for excellence in their arts and cultural provision. It is a forward-looking, as I say, forward-looking initiative, which means that you develop what you want for your school against your own expectations and plans that you've got in your school improvement plan. So it aligns very closely with internal documents and policies which are appropriate for the position your school is at. It has to be signed off, this plan has to be signed off by head teachers and heads of governors. So it's something which is going to be a guarantee for forward momentum, because it will be something which is looked at constantly throughout the school development process. One of the things to understand about Artsmark this time around as well is that there are 5 levels. Previously, in other iterations, we've had bronze, silver and gold, and we've had just Artsmark and gold. Now we have Artsmark, which is what you become immediately. You have joined and registered for Artsmark. You're an Artsmark school straight away. Then there's Artsmark Silver, Artsmark Gold and Artsmark Platinum. So there's three main levels, and the final level is a flagship level, which is only offered for invitation. when Arts Council sees the excellence of your outstanding provision and decides that they would like to have you as a mentor for other schools who are also developing. So that's the difference between the old Artsmark and the new Artsmark. I think it might be useful to talk about the process for how you join Artsmark. Website has been newly refreshed, and it's a very simple website with only a few pages on which you can find the registration page by submitting your school name and various details and agreeing to a fee package. And there are two fee packages. One is for small schools and one is for ordinary schools. Less small. So a small school is those with 100 or less on roll. If you choose to, you could go for a bespoke package. Those three packages are described fully on the website. £250 for the small school, £500 small school, and £850 if you want a bespoke package.
That's the website is artsmark.org.uk, and the link is also below on the website.
Okay, so it's very straightforward to join, and once you have submitted your details and committed to paying a fee, Arts Council England will generate an invoice. But in the meantime, you are then able to go and join an Artsmark Development Day, and each bridge, there are 10 bridges across the country, all of whom are delivering Artsmark, and we at the Royal Opera House will offer a range of different development days in your area, and you can simply sign up onto the one that's most appropriate for you and come along for a day from 10 till 3, when you will be given lots more information than you have had in a face-to-face setting with a wonderful consultant, and be treated to a delicious lunch while you start drafting your statement of commitment. And I think this might be a good moment, perhaps, Jen, to introduce you and the work that you've done for us, because Jen has been working to facilitate the development days with a number of schools and can talk in more detail about the sort of schools who are coming, their needs and expectations, why they're bothering to come, and what she felt was most successful on the day.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is, from your experience working with schools, what brings them to being an Artsmark school? What's the benefits that they see wanting to become an Artsmark school?
Okay, so there's several things to cover there. I've got dreadful echo, so still hear me without my headphones plugged in?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, because that was dreadful echo and most confusing. So the development days that I've done have been really interesting for everyone there. They are from 10 through to 3:30, as you said, and they're really quite intense. You get a lot of information at that time, and you get a lot of information out of it as well. I've had various schools attend the development days, some of whom are really advanced in their arts provision. One of the schools that I've worked with, all of the teachers had access to iPads. They were really well trained on them, and they were trained on how to use them in their lessons. So, for example, in a geography class, the children made a film using the iPads about the virtual trip that they'd been on. As well as creating artwork, they then made a video too. This was then shared with the rest of the school through their blog. Absolutely amazing, but of course not everyone has that level of technology or that level of staff expertise. So in the middle, we have had a school who had some really cool things, like in their playground they had ways for people to interact and create an art in their playground that would stay there for a week and then it would be washed away by the rain. So they were using chalk-based paints, really low tech, quite cheap, but a way for children to influence their learning environment. I also had another school who didn't really have a great deal in the way of their arts provision. And all of those schools were incredibly welcome on the day. The whole point of Artsmark for me is it helps schools to develop their arts provision. You don't have to have outstanding arts provision to take part in Artsmark. The point of Artsmark is to take you on that journey and to help you develop it. So I guess what brings schools to wanting to be part of the Artsmark family, as it were, is they really value and recognise that the arts is a key, crucial part to a young person's development as a whole child. It's not focusing on their latest SAT scores or their predicted GCSE grades. It's about developing that whole young person, and it fits into the spiritual, emotional development of the young person as well. And one of the schools was using that, using like actual drawing art as a way of engaging a young person who struggles to fit into the normal school day. And that's something
quite a good point. Sorry, just going to say it's quite a good point that you raised there about the whole school aspect of Artsmark. And Judy, you mentioned about the senior leaders and the governors being involved as well. That's something that's got real. It's not just an arts activity; it's about a whole school aspect.
No, whole school improvement. Yes,
absolutely. And we ask for a head teacher or a senior leadership team or senior management team person to come on the day. The schools that bring head teachers get even more out of the day than those that don't, in all honesty.
Yep.
And we ask schools to bring their school development or their school improvement plan with them. This shouldn't be an extra thing that people have to do. The way that Artsmark work is it needs to essentially be a thread that runs through the whole school development plan. So it doesn't get seen as another thing that needs to be done on top of everything else that needs to be done. But it's a vital way of delivering that school development plan as well.
Jen, can you talk a little bit about how the school will decide whether the work they're doing is of worth or is excellent or at what standard it's at?
That's one of the questions we had is how do they know what level to go for? Is this the whole leveling idea of do you say I'm going to be bronze or I'm going to be silver before you start? Is that part of the process, or do you?
Yeah, so that's a vital part of the development day. Is we go through the Artsmark self-assessment tool. This is the Royal Opera House's Bridges version of the tool. It's a prettier version than the one Arts Council provides you, with more space for writing and brainstorming in. But it's the same content. It's just laid out a bit clearer. So we use that in conjunction with the Arts Council England 7 quality principles. Using them together, we go through a variety of kind of workshopping methods and approaching different things in different ways. We've got cards that we use to kind of work through things, because the self-assessment tool is something that can be used at a really superficial level and bounce through quite quickly. But we spend a lot of time, in fact, it's the whole morning on the development day going through the 7 quality principles of Arts Council and the self-assessment tool. So as for deciding what level you're at, that's part of the process as we go through. And it may be that actually, if you're fairly new, for you, silver is going to be a big stretch, and that's fine, and we will do everything we can to help you on that journey. For some schools, they might have ticked every silver boxes and 1 or 2 gold, so we'd probably encourage them to stretch up to gold. When you're writing your statement of commitment, which is when you have completed your statement of commitment and you submit it to Arts Council, that's when you get to use the Artsmark badge. You are officially an Artsmark school at that point.
Jen, can you just explain what the statement of commitment is for people who don't know what we're talking about?
Yes, like everything Arts Council related, there's jargon. So sorry about that. We do have a tendency to slip into it. So the statement of commitment is what you submit to Arts Council England. It's incredibly short. In fact, I personally think they've been very mean in the word count. There are just 6 questions, and each question is just 500 words apiece. So something that we very much focus on during the development day is start at 500 words. Don't start at a 3,000 word essay and then have to cut back because it's hard. But you answer questions along the lines of referring to the self-assessment tool, which Artsmark level best characterises your school at the moment. So that's question 3, for example. And question 4 is thinking of your future work. What would your action plan look like? It's quite hard to discuss these questions right now because I think they're too big, and that's why we have a whole day working on this. Go on,
One
Claire.
thing which jumps to my mind is what's a big difference between the new Artsmark, or Artsmark as it is now, and as people might have previously known Artsmark, where there was very much an assessment, provision and quantity almost. That was from a bit of an outside point of view. That was my view. Whereas this is much more of a journey. You set a goal which fits with your schools. Is that
exactly
correct?
That's right. The previous Artsmark had a many paged audit, which was very rigorous, and many schools found it was hugely beneficial by the time they'd finished it, but it was a bit onerous getting it completed. But it was both quantitative and qualitative. This self-assessment tool can be quantitative or qualitative, but you will decide yourself, because you're not going to be to a tick box about that holds important, what ethos you've got for moving forward, and why you want to. The most important thing that got lost. This is about impact.
All of that got lost in the connection, Judy. So go back to where you were talking about quantitative and qualitative in this report. All of that got lost due to streaming.
Okay. The previous audit was in two parts, and the first part was quantitative, where you had to put in many stats about the balance of your curriculum, whether you had the right number of the right gender balance for dance, etc. And the second part was a more anecdotal, qualitative second part. Now the self-assessment allows you to put in what you choose to put in, which describes the ethos of your school and asks you to rationalise why you want to use certain interventions to move forward. Why would you bring in a dance company to help with the attendance in a maths class? So you have to say why you're doing it and what impact you expect. So you have to be accountable right from the start and put in your measurement. Get to the final stages when you've completed your delivery plan, you can go back and look at whether or not you've moved forward and measure the added value, which is very different from the previous, which was just about a snapshot of what you're doing now. So this is you looking at the impact of interventions that you want to put in place.
And Jen, how have you found, have schools picked, is that beneficial for them? Has that been something that they can get behind?
Yeah, it's something that schools, especially those who've done it in the past, welcome with. This is a total of 600 words, as opposed to the huge information that was received last time. So it is really.
But it's also a bigger challenge as well, isn't it? Is it a bigger challenge in terms of it's trying to put arts and culture at the core of learning across the school, and that's something which we know is anybody who's working in any schools, to get it across a whole school and as part of a whole thing, it's quite a big challenge. How are people responding to that? Is it feasible? Is it something that people feel they can?
Yeah, it's something that people have left the development days as being really excited about. I don't think anyone has gone away saying this is really easy, we can do it in a week. It's a long-term project. It is changing the fundamental way that the school works, which is really important and really exciting. But it's
on board.
Go on.
Sorry. Just getting the senior leadership on board, and that's why it's so crucial that they're there, because you need that support as well.
It is, and I think one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is the fact that arts and cultural organisations will play a really big part in this. When the Royal Opera House Bridge, when we hold our development days, we make sure they are hosted by cultural venues, because we want to bring the schools into a neutral situation where they're going to pick up inspiration and where they're going to see exactly how their curriculum provision can be enriched by working in close partnership with these cultural organisations. And we were the last time I was at a development day with you, Jen, it was in a museum, and we also had the V&A come in to talk about their offer for schools, and that's very inspirational, isn't it, for those schools who are there beginning to see how differently they could actually deliver something. Yeah,
I think it's really important to note that schools don't come on this development day and then they're left on their own. there is a lot of help and support that's available to them. Like you were saying, there's the Artsmark supporter arts and cultural venues who have a provision. Your local arts and cultural venue will be really keen to work with you. You know, they will probably have an offer ready for you to pick up and run with, but I'm sure that all of them would be more than delighted to have a conversation about how they can help schools specifically to work up to their Artsmark. I had a couple of questions around, well, how do we get staff to be creative? Which I think is a really, really good question. You know, if your physics teacher's really not at all interested, how can we get them engaged? And local arts and cultural venues are the answers. You know, they can come in and do staff development days, as well as working with your young people. They can help your staff to start to think and work in a more creative way. This absolutely could be seen as quite scary by some teachers. I'm an ex-teacher myself. I know how schools work. I understand the pressures that all teachers are under. And it's about finding a way of helping Artsmark to support those teachers and encourage them along their way and work with your local arts and cultural venues. And Royal Opera House Bridge has its own regional programme managers, and part of their role is to make you up with venues in your area. One thing that we haven't talked, Judy, is about the critical friends.
Yeah. Do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah,
the critical friends. The critical friends are provided for you as part of the process, and you have to ask Arts Council when you decide it's appropriate for you to have somebody to come and work with you. The term itself simply means that this will be a specialist. It might be a specialist in education, in cultural education, who can help you move forward and will challenge you about how you're trying to move forward in terms of whole school improvement. Or it might be a member of the Learning and Participation Department from a national portfolio organisation. These organisations are funded by Arts Council because they are deemed to be at an excellent level, so the quality is sure. Those people might be pulled in to help you if you have decided that you want somebody who's a specialist in a particular arts area. And there will be critical friends all around the country, and you will be matched up with somebody that's most appropriate for you. We've only had very few critical friends booked so far because this new Artsmark has only been running for 5 months. We're still in our infancy, who have been reported back on, and everybody has said that they have thoroughly enjoyed the challenge of having somebody come into the school and talk to them in such a personal way about how they're moving forward.
I would just picking up on Jen's point there about teacher support and the professional development for teachers. We keep seeing all the news about teacher retention and making, you know, getting good teachers into schools, and how it makes having a good school makes such a difference to a community. It can be, you know, a catalyst for regeneration of a whole area, and maybe that's one of the strengths of this new approach to Artsmark is bringing in that, helping teachers to be more creative and bring that. It kind of maybe it makes the schools more attractive to the teachers that want to stay there. They can develop new skills. As you say, the physics teacher, you know, the expanding their STEAM kind of STEM skills and all of that. So,
absolutely. I think if members of school staff are developed in a way which is something which is both creative for them and sustainable for them, so that they can I mean, you might want to talk a little bit about the Science Association, who is putting forward such an amazing programme of work with schools, so that they will learn more about the creative input that can come from working with something which is not seen as being an arts and cultural organisation.
Yeah, British Science Association are now an Artsmark supporter. They see that is part of, therefore there's a conversation and a working relationship, partnership that needs to be in place with cultural organisation. It's part of what makes science, you know, part of work as well. So they're actively working with arts and cultural organisations to support those links between the STEM subjects and the art subjects, bringing that STEAM together. And so for British Science Week, they're now developing some online digital badges where if you do a arts and cultural activity that's linked to British Science Week, you can earn a digital badge that kind of brings that together. So these are just different ways of that Artsmark acts as a catalyst. As you know, going beyond having a plaque, we know schools love to have awards in the entrance hall for when parents come through, and understandably so. That, you know, it's got a lot of value. But Artsmark is so much more than that. It's about I think that's something as well about the sustained reach. So just going from bronze to silver, or getting your silver Artsmark isn't the end of the journey.
Absolutely, it is about a developing program and that cycle of development within the school for staff and students alike, and also about building partnerships. So as Cliff said, about placemaking, about building something in your local area, so the local cultural education partnerships can be built in a more sustainable way, and everybody can learn. There's a lot of peer learning that will go on.
And in terms of the support that's available to help, so Roll Up Rouse Bridge is one of the 10 national bridge organisations. If we work across Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, Essex and North Kent, there's 10 different bridge organisations in each of the regions across England. And all of the bridge organisations are working really hard to support schools and cultural organisations to really make the most of the Artsmark opportunities and to develop their journeys and start on that journey. So there's a number of briefing days, which are real life versions of these and go into more detail. So it's twilight sessions that are available. And then once schools register, they can go on and do studies. And you want to take part, join one of our briefing days or find a development day that's near you. The link is on the page, or go to roh.org.uk/bridge and you'll find links to all the Artsmark stuff from there as well. But if you've got any questions, then do get in touch with us as well. There was some other questions there about the idea of on your own. I think we've kind of picked up on that.
One
and
thing,
the statement of
sorry, Cliff, is before after the development day, your Artsmark consultant, so me or an equivalent of me, will follow up with you by email. We can take a look at your first draft of your statement of commitment and be that support to help you submit your statement of commitment. So kind of quite a way before the critical friend comes in. So even after that development day, there's that little bit more help available to get you through the first part of submitting your statement of commitment.
So yeah, so you're not alone. There's the beginning of a journey, and it's kind of is really up to you. But it needs to be part of a whole school improvement. It's about putting arts and culture at the core of that in a way to drive change within the school. So, I'm conscious we've covered an awful lot of ground for people who have sort of picked up a lot here.
I'd just like to say on the back of that if what we've said has been interesting but you haven't really understood it, we'd be really happy to for you. If you'd like to host it if you're a colleague from school, we'd like to host it in your school. You can get in touch with us to do that, especially if you think that maybe some local schools would be interested in an hour and a quarter of information. Or if you're a cultural organisation, we are rolling out some cultural briefings as well across and North Kent. If you want to get in touch about that, we're very happy to be flexible and put things on demand.
Yeah, and you can stay in touch with us via email at ROH Bridge. There's lots more information on the website. Jen is one of the Artsmark consultants, along with Hasina and a whole team of people with a whole range of expertise working in schools and different stuff. So we can take it forward from there. This is open talk, as I say. It was a bit of an experiment in terms of extending this conversation. Hopefully it's been, we'll have a few final words from everybody, but I think it's using new technology technologies in this way is something which we want to continue doing. So we're going to hopefully continue this Arts Open Talk series and look at different topics. So if you've got anything that you would like to discuss and for us to pick up, then get in touch as well. So any final thoughts on why? So I suppose $1 million question is, why should a school do Artsmark? Why bother? It's the big question, you know. 140 characters. Why bother?
Why bother? It's a way of demonstrating, you know, how excellent your arts provision is. But aside from that, it's more about making sure that the arts are still embedded within your school, and not to tread on too political a ground. But we all know that the arts are not as high profile as perhaps many of us would like them to be. And this is a way of making, if of qualifications within the school, that you still can have a creative learning environment for those young people, and you can introduce them to the arts and to the arts world, both in school and outside of school.
And Jen?
I can only
why bother? Why should
I can only really echo what Judy said, really. It is absolutely a way of making sure that the arts is embedded through the whole school. It's part of the school development plan. It's not something that gets tacked on where there's time. As Judy says, not everyone is going to be offering those levels of qualifications in the arts that they once were, but this is a way of making sure that the arts still retain a vital part of the school and the pupils' well-being.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic way to end there. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions. Thank you for those who have tweeted in questions and got in touch. Thank you, Jen, for fantastic, and for inviting us into your home there virtually, and to Judy for trying to hope it's been useful. This is going to be recorded and will be available online. You can relive this whole experience in all of its glory. Yes. And we look forward to seeing you in some form in the future. Yeah, thank you very much, and get on with it. Good luck with your Artsmark journey. Bye.
Bye.